Okay, let's kick things off with a basic introduction to UI and UX design. Essentially, UI deals with the visual elements, how something looks and how it's interacted with directly. Think about buttons, colors, fonts, all that stuff you see on a screen. UX, on the other hand, is much broader. It's about the entire user experience, making sure whatever you're designing, a website, an app, anything is actually useful and enjoyable to use. It's about solving problems for your users, not just pretty aesthetics. They work together. Great UI leads to good UX, but good UX can exist even with simpler interfaces. Okay, let's talk about the difference between UI and UX. Think of user interface as everything you actually interact with, the buttons, colors, and layout of a website or app. It's all about making things look good and be easy to use on a surface level. Now, user experience is much broader. It's about the entire experience someone has when they're using something, from the moment they first hear about it, through the whole process, right down to how satisfied they are afterwards. So while UI focuses on design and aesthetics, UX looks at the bigger picture: usability, accessibility, and overall value for the user. Okay, let's talk about user-centered design. It's the foundation of great UI/UX. Basically, it means we need to step back and really think about who we're designing for. It's not about what we like or what looks cool. It's about understanding our users, their needs, frustrations, and goals. We do this through things like talking to them directly, creating detailed personas, and then continually testing and refining our designs based on what they actually tell us. The process is never really finished. We keep iterating until the design truly works for the people who will be using it. Okay, so let's talk about the design thinking process. It's really all about putting the user at the heart of everything you do as a UI/UX designer. It starts with understanding your users. What are their needs? What are they struggling with? This stage is called empathize. Then, you take the understanding and clearly define the problem you're trying to solve, usually framed around how you can help them. Next comes ideation, where you really let your creativity flow and come up with lots of different ideas. After that, you create a quick prototype, something simple to test out your best ideas. Finally, you get real user feedback on the prototype and use it to iterate and improve as a cycle. Okay, let's talk about empathy mapping. This is a really helpful tool for UI/UX designers. It's all about understanding our users inside and out. Basically, an empathy map is like creating a visual representation of what a user goes through when interacting with your product or service. It's broken down into 4 key areas. What do they say? What are their actions? Does? What are their underlying thoughts and beliefs? Thinks. And finally, what emotions are they feeling? Feels. By filling out each section of the map, you'll gain a much deeper understanding of your users' needs and can use that knowledge to make design choices that truly resonate with them. Okay, let's talk about how we figure out what our users actually want. User research is absolutely crucial in UI/UX design. It's all about putting ourselves in their shoes. We have several tools at our disposal: user interviews, where we chat with people to understand why they do things a certain way. Then there are surveys, which let us gather data from lots of people quickly. Usability testing is super helpful. We watch real users try out the design and see where they stumble. A/B testing helps us compare different versions of something and see what works best. And lastly, card sorting can show us how people naturally group information. It's really important to keep researching throughout the whole process. Okay, let's talk about competitive analysis, a really important step in the design process. Basically, you want to figure out who else is playing in your space and what they're doing well and not so well. We start by identifying all the competitors, both those who offer similar products and those that solve the same problem in different ways. Then we dive deep into analyzing their websites and apps, looking at how users flow through them, the design elements they're using, and what features are most popular. Don't forget to read user reviews. This is a goldmine for understanding what people actually like and dislike about existing solutions. Finally, use the information to identify where you can truly differentiate yourself and create something even better. Okay, let's talk about user personas. They are really helpful tools for UI/UX designers. Think of them as like creating little characters that represent your ideal users. The first step is figuring out who you're actually designing for. You need to identify the different groups within your target audience. Then, it's all about gathering information, talking to people, running surveys, and analyzing what you already know. Based on that research, you'll create detailed profiles for each persona, outlining things like their age, job, goals, and even what frustrations they might be experiencing. Giving them a name and maybe even a photo can really help you connect with them. And finally, remember, these personas are just representations. They are not meant to be perfect copies of your users, but rather ways for you to understand different perspectives when making design decisions. Okay, let's talk about user journey mapping. This is a really powerful tool for UI/UX designers. It's basically a visual story of how someone interacts with your product or service. First, you need to define who your target audience is. Creating detailed personas helps. Then, you identify every single touchpoint where the user might encounter your brand website, app, maybe even in-store experiences. You then break down that journey into stages like awareness, consideration, and action, pinpointing moments of friction and opportunities for improvement. Think about those frustrating times users have. What can Q do to make it better? Ultimately, this mapping process helps your entire team truly understand the user's perspective. Okay, let's talk about task flows and user flows. They're super important for good design. Think of a task flow as breaking down how someone actually completes a specific action within an app or website, like buying a product. It's all about efficiency and making sure everything works smoothly. A user flow is different. It's the bigger picture, showing the whole journey a user takes when interacting with your product or service. It's about understanding why they're doing things and what they're feeling along the way. They aren't always the same, but often overlap. We can use them together to really get an understanding of how someone is using our design. Okay, let's talk about information architecture. Basically, it's how we arrange everything on a website or app to make it easy for people to find what they need. Imagine you're building a house. IA is like the floor plan. We use things like clear menus and categories, consistent labeling, and sitemaps to show everyone where everything is. It's all about making sure that information flows logically so users can navigate effortlessly and have a good experience. Okay, so let's talk about wireframing. Think of a wireframe as the skeleton for your website or app. It's all about structure and how things fit together. We start with quick sketches on paper to get a basic sense of where everything goes. Then we move into digital tools like Figma or Sketch to create more detailed versions showing interactive flows and key elements. Remember, at this stage, we're not worried about pretty visuals. It's all about getting the functionality right and making sure users can easily navigate. Okay, let's talk about wireframes. Think of them as blueprints for your digital designs. We start with low-fidelity wireframes. These are really quick sketches that focus solely on the basic layout and functionality. They are like a rough outline, great for bouncing ideas around and figuring out the core structure of your interface. You can use pen and paper or simple tools to create them rapidly. Then, as we get closer to finalizing our design, we move on to high-fidelity wireframes. These are much more detailed and look a lot like the final product. They include visual elements and styling details. They help us refine the look and feel of the interface before we start adding colors and images. Okay, so let's talk about prototyping. This is a really important part of our jobs as UI/UX designers. It's all about bringing ideas to life and testing them early on. We start with low-fidelity prototypes, often just sketches or paper mockups, which are fantastic for quickly exploring different layouts and user flows. Then we move up to mid-fidelity tools like Figma and Adobe XD, where we can create interactive versions that let us test navigation and key interactions. Finally, for a polished look, we use high-fidelity tools such as InVision Studio or Protopie to really nail down the final design and animations. Don't forget techniques like user flow diagrams and wireframing. These are essential building blocks for any good prototype. Okay, let's talk about interactive prototypes. These are absolutely essential for showing off your designs and getting feedback before you actually build them. We're going to look at some of the most popular tools: Figma, Adobe XD, and Sketch. Each has its own strengths. Figma is particularly good if you're working with a team because it's super collaborative and web-based. XD integrates really well with other Adobe programs like After Effects, which can be amazing for adding animation. And Sketch is still a fantastic choice for detailed design work, especially on Macs. Okay, so when we're designing for UI/UX, it's crucial that our websites and apps look great on every device. We start with responsive design. Basically, we build one flexible layout that adapts to different screen sizes using things like fluid grids and scaling images. But adaptive design takes it a step further. Instead of just resizing, we actually serve up completely different versions of the site or app depending on what the user is viewing, whether it's an old smartphone or a powerful desktop computer. Think of it as tailoring the experience to each device. Okay, so when it comes to designing user interfaces, you've got two main philosophies: mobile first and desktop first. Think of mobile first as starting small, really focusing on what's absolutely essential for a great experience on a phone or tablet. It forces you to cut out the fluff and prioritize what matters most. Desktop first, on the other hand, is about tackling the biggest design first, creating everything you expect on a desktop computer, and then carefully adapting it down to smaller screens. While desktop first might seem logical at first, mobile first has become incredibly popular because mobile usage is so dominant these days. It's a great way to ensure that your product feels intuitive and accessible for everyone. Let's take a quick look at how they differ in terms of starting point, prioritization, and overall complexity. Okay, let's talk about how layouts actually work in UI/UX design. We're going to start with the basics: grids. They are like an invisible skeleton for your design. They help you organize everything and maintain consistency across a website or app. Then we'll cover alignment, which is all about where things live on the screen and how they relate to each other. And finally, spacing. White space can be just as important as color. It gives elements room to breathe and makes your designs much more user-friendly. Okay, let's talk about typography. It's way more important than just picking a pretty font. Fonts really influence how users experience your design. They impact readability and even how people feel about your brand. We want to make sure the text is easy to read, so choose fonts with clear letter forms that don't look jumbled up. Also, think about using different sizes and weights. Bolding headings helps guide a user through the page. And of course, your font choices should fit with your overall brand and its personality. When pairing fonts, generally you'll want to combine something eye-catching for headlines with a clear, readable body font. Think classic pairings like serif with sans serif. Okay, let's talk about color. It's way more than just a pretty background. It actually plays a huge role in how users feel about a website or app. We break down the basics first. Hue is just the pure color itself, like red or blue. Then we have saturation, which determines how intense or vibrant that color is. Finally, value tells us if something is light or dark. Now let's dig into color psychology. Different colors trigger different emotions and associations. Red can be exciting but also urgent, so you'd want to use it carefully. Blue tends to evoke feelings of trust and security, which makes it a popular choice for corporate websites. Green often represents nature and health, and yellow is full of optimism and attention-grabbing qualities. Keep all this in mind when building your brand's color palette. Okay, let's talk about how we guide users through a design. Visual hierarchy is all about making sure people know what's important first. It's like creating a roadmap for their eyes. We do this primarily through size. Bigger things naturally draw attention. Color plays a big role too. Contrasting colors can really pop and highlight key areas. Font choices matter. Changing the size or weight of text helps to emphasize certain parts. And don't forget about white space. It's not empty. It can actually isolate what you want people to notice. Think about call to action buttons. They need to stand out to encourage users to take action. Okay, let's talk about making your UI feel truly special by focusing on iconography and micro-interactions. First, think of icons as little signposts. They need to quickly tell the user what something is. It's all about consistency, clarity, and ensuring accessibility for everyone. Then we move on to micro-interactions. These are those tiny animations and feedback elements that add a surprising amount of delight and polish to the experience. Things like subtle hover effects on buttons, or a little loading animation while content loads. They are not just pretty, they provide crucial feedback and make the whole process more engaging. Okay, let's talk about design patterns and UI components. These are really important tools for any designer. Design patterns are basically tried and true solutions to common problems you'll encounter when building a user interface, things like navigation, forms, or even just how buttons should look. And UI components? Those are pre-built elements you can reuse over and over again, kind of like Lego bricks. You've got your navigation bars, your alerts for important messages, and modules for those pop-up windows. It's all about building efficiently and maintaining a consistent design throughout your product. Okay, let's talk about how users move around a website or app. Navigation is super important. It's all about making sure people can find what they need easily. We've got 3 really common navigation patterns we're going to look at today: tabs, drawers, and bottom navigation. Tabs are fantastic when you have just a few main sections you want to highlight, like different categories on an e-commerce site. Drawers are great for hiding stuff that isn't used as often, keeping your main content area clean. And finally, bottom navigation is really popular on mobile apps because it's always visible and lets users quickly jump between the most important features. Okay, let's talk about buttons and calls to action. They're super important in UI/UX design. Think of them as the little engines that drive users to do what you want them to do. The key is clarity. Your button text needs to tell people exactly what will happen when they click it. And don't forget contrast. Make sure those buttons really pop out against their background. We also want to think about how we're placing these. Things like above the fold or after someone understands the value you offer. Finally, always test your button designs. /B testing can help you find what works best for your * users. Okay, let's talk about making forms that actually work. A huge part of UI/UX design is how we handle data input. The first thing to remember is keeping it simple. Only ask for the essential information. Also, think about logically grouping your fields so users can easily understand where things fit together. We'll want to avoid overwhelming them with too many questions at once. And don't forget input validation. Giving clear error messages and offering helpful suggestions will dramatically improve the user experience and help prevent mistakes. Let's talk about making our websites and apps usable for everyone. Accessibility isn't just a nice to have, it's crucial. The WCAG guidelines are the standard we follow to ensure things like readability, keyboard navigation, and compatibility with screen readers. Area attributes are powerful tools that give assistive technologies like screen readers more information about what an element does. For example, you can use area label to provide a short description for buttons or links when there isn't a visible label. It's all about providing context and making sure everyone can easily understand and interact with your designs. Okay, let's talk about contrast and color accessibility. Super important for making sure everyone can use your designs. The WCAG guidelines give us some great targets. We're generally looking for a 4:5 ratio of dark text to light background. For smaller text, that jumps up to around 7:8. There are handy tools like WebAIM Contrast Checker that you can use to quickly check your color combinations. Also, browser extensions can give you real-time feedback as you design. Beyond contrast, it's vital to not rely on color alone to communicate information. Think about using icons and text labels too. And don't forget about people with color blindness. Tools like color blindness simulators are a lifesaver for seeing how your design appears through different types of color vision deficiency. Okay, so you've got a great design for one screen, awesome. But consistency is key to a really good user experience. That's where design systems and style guides come in. Think of a design system as your collection of reusable building blocks, buttons, colors, typography, all designed to work together seamlessly. A style guide, on the other hand, is like the instruction manual for those blocks, explaining why things look the way they do. Having these resources saves time, ensures consistency, and ultimately makes it easier to build and maintain a fantastic product. Okay, let's talk about atomic design. It's a really powerful way to approach UI/UX design. Essentially, it breaks down complex interfaces into smaller, reusable pieces starting with atoms, which are the basic building blocks like individual buttons or input fields. Then you combine those atoms into molecules, which are simple functional units like a search bar. Next, you build organisms, more complex sections of your interface that use those molecules and atoms together, like a header or a product card. Templates are page-level layouts that put these organisms together, and finally, pages are specific instances of those templates with actual content added in. It's all about creating a system of reusable components to build consistent and scalable UI. Okay, let's talk about building and keeping your design system strong. Think of a design system as a single source of truth for how things look and work across all your products. It's about creating a reusable library of components like buttons, forms, or navigation that's consistent and scalable. We start by defining what we want to include, setting clear guidelines on how those elements should be used, and then building out the actual component library within tools like Figma. Version control is super important, so you can track changes and collaborate effectively. And finally, remember it's not a one-and-done project. Design systems evolve as your products grow and your teams learn more. A good system provides a common language for everyone to use. Okay, let's talk about how we make our designs really easy to maintain. We do this with something called design tokens and variables. Think of design tokens as the core ingredients like our main colors, font sizes, and spacing. They are named values that represent the fundamental visual elements of a project. Then we use variables, which are basically CSS custom properties, to actually use those tokens consistently everywhere. It's like having a recipe where you can easily swap out one ingredient for another without changing everything. Okay, let's talk about getting your designs ready for the developers. A smooth handoff is key to a successful product launch. We'll start with Figma Inspect. It's like giving them a live demo of your design. You can share interactive snapshots showing exactly how elements behave and where things are positioned. Next up, Zeppelin. This tool helps you export all the necessary assets, like images and fonts, along with detailed specifications like sizes and colors. Think of it as building a really solid reference guide for the development team. Ultimately, these tools help streamline communication, reduce errors during development, and speed up your overall project timeline. Okay, so let's talk about how UI/UX designers fit into Agile and Scrum teams. These methods are super popular in the field. Think of it like a structured way to work on projects. During daily stand-ups, you'll have quick 15-minute meetings where everyone shares what they are working on, any hurdles they've hit, and their plans for the day. Keep your UX updates focused and practical. Sprint planning is when you decide what you're going to tackle in each sprint. It's great if you can estimate how long things will take. Then come sprint reviews, where you show off your completed work and get feedback. Finally, retrospectives are all about reflecting on the sprint as a team, identifying what worked well and what could be improved. And remember, clear communication using tools like Jira or Trello is absolutely essential for making sure everyone's on the same page. Okay, let's talk about how feedback loops are absolutely crucial to designing great products. Think of design iteration as a cycle. You don't just build something once and hope for the best. Instead, it's all about building a first version, getting it in front of real users, gathering their thoughts, and then using that information to make improvements. This process helps us avoid costly mistakes down the road, ensures our designs are actually useful for people, and even sparks some really innovative ideas. We use different methods like usability testing, where we watch users struggle or succeed with a prototype, sending out surveys to get broader opinions, looking at analytics data from live products to see how people are really using things, and of course, getting input from our colleagues and stakeholders. It's all about continuous learning and improvement. Okay, let's talk about how we find out if our designs are actually usable. We do that through usability testing, basically watching people use our stuff and seeing what happens. There are a few different ways to go about it. First, you've got remote and moderated testing, where users complete tasks on their own while we record their screen and voice. This is great for getting quick feedback from lots of people. Then there's moderated usability testing, which involves a facilitator guiding the user through the process, allowing us to ask questions and really dig into why they're doing what they're doing. We also use something called Think Aloud Protocol, where users vocalize their thoughts as they interact with your design, which is super helpful for understanding why they're struggling or succeeding. And of course, there's a /B testing, presenting two versions of a feature to see which one performs better. It's all about gathering data and making sure we're building something that people can easily and enjoyably use. Okay, so let's talk about how we really figure out what works best in design. We do this primarily through testing. First up is a /B testing. Think of it like a head-to-head battle between two versions of something. You show one version to half your users and the other to the other half, then you see which performs better based on metrics like clicks or sales. Next, we have multivariate testing. This is more advanced. Instead of just comparing two things, we're testing multiple elements at once, all combined in different ways. It helps us understand how different design choices interact with each other. Sometimes a surprising combination can lead to big improvements. Okay, let's talk about how we go beyond just thinking design is good and actually it is. We use tools like heat maps and user behavior analytics to understand what users are really doing when they interact with our designs. Heat maps visually show us where people click, scroll, and move their mouse, basically hotspots of engagement. There are different types. Click maps tell us popular navigation paths, scroll maps show how far down a page people go, and move maps track mouse movement. But it's not just about the heat. We also use user behavior analytics to see how users move through your product over time, things like session duration, bounce rate, and conversion rates. Combining these two gives us a really clear picture of what works and what needs improvement. Okay, let's dive into how we handle those frustrating moments when things don't go as planned in our apps. A well-designed error message isn't just about telling someone something is wrong. It's about guiding them to a solution. We want messages that are really clear and tell the user exactly what happened, not just error, and crucially, we always offer a way forward, a helpful next step. Now let's talk about empty states. These are how you present your app when there isn't any content yet. Think of it as showing the potential value and guiding users to fill in that blank space. Okay, so let's talk about how we welcome new designers to the team. It's really important this goes well. First, they need to get all their tools set up and access granted. Think Figma, Slack, Jira, everything. Then, we give them a quick tour of our design system, making sure they understand our style guide and components. It's not about dumping information on them right away though. Instead, we start with small, task-based introductions like styling a simple button so they can get a feel for the workflow and build confidence. Okay, let's dive into progress indicators and loaders. These are really important for a good user experience, especially when something takes a little while to load. They help users understand that their action isn't lost in the void and reduces any anxiety they might feel. We use them to show loading states, provide feedback on what's happening, and manage expectations about how long things will take. There are different types like progress bars, which visually show how much is done, spinners or loaders, those animated circles that let users know something's actively working, and even smaller activity indicators, like a pulsing dot. Remember to keep them simple and provide clear feedback whether it's a success or an error. Okay, let's talk about data visualization. It's a really important part of being a UI/UX designer because it helps us translate complex numbers and information into something that people can easily understand and use. We've got three main types: charts, which are awesome for spotting trends and comparing things; graphs to show how different variables relate to each other, like scatter plot; and finally, dashboards, which are really powerful at giving a complete picture of key metrics all in one place. It's important to think about who you're designing for and what they need to do with the information before you even start sketching. Okay, let's talk about how motion and animation can really elevate your UI design. It's not just about making things look cool, it's a powerful tool for guiding users and providing feedback. Think of it like this: when you click a button, seeing it subtly highlight or animate helps confirm that the action was registered. Animations help users understand how to use the interface smoothly, and they can make the whole experience more engaging and memorable. We're talking about small details like hover effects, smooth transitions between pages or modals, and even elements that reveal as you scroll. These little touches can make a big difference. Okay, let's talk about icon design. Icons are super important in UI/UX because they quickly convey information. But don't just pick a random picture. Good icons are intentionally designed. The key is simplicity. Less detail makes them easier to understand at small sizes. They also need to be instantly recognizable. Think of things like a house for home, or a magnifying glass for search. Scalability is another big deal, ensuring your icons look great no matter the size. And consistency across all your icons, same style, same feel, is crucial for a polished design. We'll also cover some popular tools you can use to create them, like Illustrator and Figma. Okay, let's dive into how people actually use their touchscreens. We're talking about the gestures they naturally perform, things like tapping to select something, swiping to scroll through a list, or pinching to zoom in on an image. Beyond those basic gestures, there are also common interaction patterns that we see all over apps and websites. Things like pulling down to refresh a page, swiping items to delete them, dragging elements around. These are the building blocks of good UI/UX design. It's important to keep these patterns consistent so users can easily understand how things work and feel comfortable navigating your interface. Okay, let's talk about how we make sure our designs look great no matter what device someone's using. The problem is that people are accessing websites and apps on many different screens, from huge monitors to tiny smartphones. A standard design just won't do. Adaptive design is all about creating one website or app that intelligently changes its layout based on the screen it's being viewed on. It's like giving our content a chameleon-like ability to adjust itself. We use techniques like fluid grids, where columns automatically resize based on available space, flexible images that scale with their containers, and powerful media queries which let us apply different styles depending on whether someone is using a desktop or a tablet, for example. Essentially, we're building a single codebase that adapts to each user's experience. Okay, let's talk about designing for wearables and smart devices. These interfaces are a whole different ballgame compared to your typical phone screen. The biggest challenge is the space. You're working with tiny screens, so you have to be really strategic about what information you show. Think about prioritizing only the essential details and using things like progressive disclosure, where you reveal more information only when someone needs it. Also, people often interact with wearables through gestures, not just taps, so exploring intuitive swipes and pinches is important. And don't forget to take advantage of all those sensors: location, movement, heart rate, to make the experience really tailored to the user's context. A little haptic feedback, vibrations, can be surprisingly effective for alerts or confirmations. Finally, let's look at some common design patterns like card-based navigation and glanceable summaries. Let's dive into voice user interfaces, or VUIs. These are interfaces that let you interact with technology using your voice. Think Siri, Alexa, or even the voice controls in your car. A big part of VUI design is understanding how people actually speak, not just how they type. We need to use something called natural language processing to figure out what users mean when they say things. Then, it's about designing conversations that flow naturally, almost like a real conversation. You'll also want to think about who you're talking to. Creating user personas helps you tailor the experience to specific speech patterns and expectations. And finally, don't forget clear feedback. If your device doesn't understand something, it needs to tell you politely what happened. Okay, let's dive into the exciting world of AR and VR UX. It's a whole new ballgame compared to designing for websites or apps. The biggest difference is that users are interacting with things in 3D space, so you need to think about how they move their bodies and navigate around virtual environments. Interaction models have shifted to gestures, voice commands, and even looking at something. Gaze tracking are all becoming really important ways for people to engage. And finally, creating a strong sense of presence in VR is key. It's like actually asterisk being there asterisk. So we need to design carefully to avoid motion sickness. Let's also quickly look at some key differences between AR and VR. AR blends the digital with the real world, while VR creates a completely simulated one. Okay, let's talk about dark mode. It's become super common these days. A lot of people prefer it for reading in the evening or just when things are dim. But simply making everything black isn't enough. You need to be really mindful about your design choices. First and foremost, make sure there's plenty of contrast between your text and background so it's easy on the eyes. Also, stick to a small group of colors that work well together. Don't go overboard. And remember fonts, some look great in dark mode, while others can become really hard to read. Finally, icons need to be visible too, so think about using outlines or a little bit of color. There are even tools you can use to check if your design meets accessibility standards. Okay, let's talk about mood boards and style tiles. They are super important for setting the visual tone of your UI/UX projects. A mood board is basically a collection of inspiring images, colors, textures, and fonts that captures the overall feeling you want to create. It's like a design mood board, if you will. Then we have style tiles, which are more focused. Think of them as a detailed look at specific UI elements like buttons, typography, or color palettes. They show exactly how those components will appear in your final product, helping everyone involved understand the visual direction. Okay, let's talk about how designers work together. It's really important to have the right tools for collaboration. We're going to look at 3 popular choices: Figma, Miro, and FigJam. Figma is a fantastic design editor. You can build prototypes and mockups, and it works super well when multiple people are editing at the same time. Miro is like a giant digital whiteboard. It's amazing for brainstorming sessions and mapping out user journeys. And finally, FigJam lives inside Figma, acting almost like a shared notebook, perfect for workshops and documenting all those important design decisions. Think about what your team needs most. Is it creating polished designs, visualizing ideas, or running effective meetings? Okay, so let's talk about keeping our designs organized. Version control might seem like a coding thing, but it's essential for us designers too. We create so many different versions of things. Without versioning, you could lose work or accidentally overwrite changes. Pretty scary, right? The most popular tools are Git and GitHub, which is fantastic for collaboration. But there are also great built-in options in Figma and Adobe XD if those fit better with your workflow. Branching helps you experiment without messing up your main design, and committing regularly with clear messages makes it much easier to track what changed when. Think of tagging milestones like 1.0 or final design. That way you always know where things stand. Seriously, mastering version control is a huge win for any UI/UX designer. Let's talk about how branding plays a huge role in UI design. It's not just about making things look pretty, it's about truly representing your brand's personality and values. Think about whether your brand is fun and playful, or more serious and professional. It should heavily influence everything from the colors you use to the fonts you pick. Color choices are incredibly powerful for setting a mood, and typography needs to be both readable and reflective of your brand's voice. Finally, all images and visual elements need to tie back to that overall brand aesthetic, creating a consistent experience for users. Okay, let's dive into emotional design. This slide is all about moving beyond simply making something usable. We want to make it enjoyable. Emotional design focuses on the feelings users have when they interact with your product. It's not just about looking good, it's about creating a connection. We explore how storytelling, giving your brand personality, and even using sensory elements like color and sound can all contribute. Ultimately, delightful UX is what happens when you successfully blend usability with these emotional considerations, leading to those wow moments that keep users coming back for more. Okay, let's talk about Lean UX. It's essentially a streamlined way to design. Think of it as a fast track to creating something people actually want and use. Instead of spending ages planning everything perfectly upfront, we start by really understanding our users and what they need. Then we quickly create some simple prototypes, maybe just paper sketches at first, to test out the core ideas. It's all about getting feedback early on, learning from it, and then making small changes, iterating until we've nailed it. The goal is to avoid wasting time building something nobody wants. Okay, let's talk about minimalism in UI/UX design. It's all about saying no to unnecessary stuff and focusing on what truly matters for the user. Minimalism is basically less is more. We achieve this by simplifying our designs using simple shapes instead of complex gradients or shadows. A limited color palette combined with clear typography helps create a clean, modern aesthetic that's easy in the eyes and guides users effortlessly through the interface. Okay, let's dive into material design. It's Google's design system, and it's all about creating a really engaging user experience. The core ideas are depth, using layers to guide the eyeballs through strong colors and animations, and most importantly, clarity, making sure everything feels consistent throughout your app or website. Material design focuses on key components like cards for grouping information, clear buttons, consistent navigation bars, and even those prominent floating action buttons you see in many apps. If you want to learn more about the specifics, definitely check out Material Design's official website. It's packed with great resources. Okay, let's talk about a crucial resource for any UI/UX designer working on Apple products, the Human Interface Guidelines. Think of this as Apple's playbook for creating apps that feel natural and intuitive. It covers everything from how users interact with your app, like gestures, and controls the visual style, including typography and colors. It's not just about aesthetics, they really emphasize content hierarchy, making sure the most important information is easy to find. And importantly, accessibility. They're serious about designing for everyone. Following the HIG isn't about copying Apple exactly, but understanding their principles of user experience. Okay, let's talk about the realities of designing for different platforms. It's not just about making something look pretty. We have to work within the limitations of where people are actually using our designs. Web browsers and mobile devices present a whole set of constraints that can really impact how we approach things. We need to consider screen size, which means responsive design is absolutely essential. Mobile devices also often have less processing power, so complex animations or lots of interactive elements might not be ideal. Network connectivity can be unreliable too. Think about how your app will behave if it's slow or offline. And don't forget the differences in input methods. Touchscreens versus keyboards and mice require entirely different ways of interacting with our designs. Finally, each platform like iOS and Android has its own set of design guidelines that we should absolutely follow to create a consistent and familiar experience for users. Okay, so let's talk about making your designs work everywhere. That's where EIT comes in. Essentially, we want our apps and websites to be usable by people all over the world, not just those who speak English. This means thinking about things like how dates are displayed. Some cultures put the day before the month. We also need to make sure that text doesn't get cut off or look weird because different languages have different lengths for words. And of course, we can't forget cultural sensitivities. A color or symbol that's perfectly fine in one place might be completely inappropriate somewhere else. A good strategy is to build your design system with flexibility in mind, so it can easily adjust based on the user's location. Okay, so let's talk about something really important: ethics in UX. It's not just about making things look good or easy to use, it's about considering the impact of our designs on people. We need to be aware of potential biases, whether they are built into datasets or reflected in our design choices, and strive for fairness and inclusivity. Privacy is another big one. We have a responsibility to protect user data and be transparent about how it's being used. Accessibility is crucial too, making sure everyone can use the products we create, regardless of their abilities. And finally, let's think about well-being. Are we designing experiences that promote healthy habits or could even be harmful? It's a lot to consider, but by taking proactive steps like conducting diverse user research and advocating for ethical practices, we can all contribute to building a better digital world. Okay, let's talk about how much thinking people have to do when they're using your design. That's cognitive load. It's basically the amount of mental effort involved. There are 3 types: the difficulty of the task itself, any extra work caused by a bad design like confusing navigation, and the actual learning process. Now, alongside that is the concept of mental models. These are essentially what users think something works like before they even interact with it. As designers, we want to make sure our interfaces match those existing expectations or, if necessary, create new ones that make sense. Think about a shopping cart icon. Most people automatically assume it means you can add items, right? If your design throws that off, users will get confused. So, focus on simplicity and build intuitive mental models. That's key to good usability. Okay, let's talk about how our brains naturally organize visual information. These principles, called Gestalt principles, are super useful for UI/UX designers because they help us understand how users see and interpret the designs we create. Basically, we tend to group things together based on how close they are, if they look similar, or even if they're partially hidden. Our brains love to complete those shapes. It's about guiding the user's eye and creating a clear, intuitive experience. Okay, let's talk about how we can make our design super intuitive, and that starts with affordance and feedback. Affordance is all about giving clues to the user about what something can do. Think of it as a hint, like a door handle suggesting you pull or push it. Now, feedback is when we let the user know what's happening based on their actions, like a button changing color when they click it, or a loading spinner telling them something's in progress. When these two work together, it creates an experience that just feels right and guides users without needing to be told every single step. Okay, let's talk about heuristic evaluation, a really helpful way for UI/UX designers to check their work. Basically, it's like having some usability experts independently look at your interface and see if it follows established design principles. Nielsen's 10 heuristics are a common starting point, covering things like making sure everything is clear, giving users feedback when they do something, and keeping the overall experience simple. You can also use techniques like cognitive walkthroughs, imagining how a user would actually think through completing a task, or think aloud protocol, where you ask users to verbalize what's going on in their heads as they use your design. It's important to rate the severity of any problems you find, so you know which ones need immediate attention. Okay, let's talk about zero conversion rate optimization. Basically, it's about making sure that when someone visits your website or app, they actually do what you want them to do. Think of it as fine-tuning the experience to nudge people towards taking action, like buying something or signing up for a newsletter. We often use /B testing, showing 2 slightly different versions of a page element and seeing which one gets more clicks. Heat maps can show us where users are clicking, and session recordings let us watch how they actually navigate your site. And of course, we track key metrics like bounce rate, how many people leave without interacting, to see if our changes are having an impact. Okay, let's talk about progressive disclosure. Basically, it's a really smart design strategy to avoid overwhelming users with information. Think of it like showing only what they absolutely need at any given moment. It starts simple, just the core functionality. Then, when they want more detail or advanced options, you offer pathways to reveal them. It's all about guiding the user through a task in a clear and intuitive way, without giving them too much to process at once. A good example is an image edit. It might show basic cropping tools initially, but then give users a way to access more complex features like curves adjustments if they need them. Okay, let's talk about gamification. It's a really interesting way to improve user experience. Basically, we borrow ideas from games and apply them to non-game situations. Think of it as adding little rewards and challenges to make your app or website more engaging. We can use things like points and badges to reward users for completing tasks, and leaderboards used carefully to create a bit of friendly competition. Progress bars are great too. They visually show people how far they've come and give them that satisfying feeling of accomplishment. A simple example is a fitness app giving out badges for sticking with their workouts. It's all about making the experience more fun and motivating. Okay, let's talk about behavioral UX design. This is all about digging deeper than just knowing what people want. It's about understanding why they do what they do. We use concepts like cognitive load theory to make things easier for users mentally. Think about how much mental effort it takes them to use your product. Then there are heuristics, which are basically design shortcuts based on proven best practices, like Fitts' Law. It's also important to consider the emotions involved. People don't just act logically, their feelings play a huge role. User journey mapping becomes even more powerful when you focus on the why behind each step. So, for example, if a checkout process is too complicated, it can lead to users abandoning their carts because they're feeling frustrated and overwhelmed. By simplifying things and making them clear, we can greatly improve the user experience. Okay, so let's talk about how we really get to know our users through surveys and interviews. Surveys are like quick polls. They're great for getting a general sense of what people think and do. Think of them as gathering broad data quickly. Interviews, on the other hand, are where things get really interesting. They let us dig deeper and understand why someone does something, which is super valuable for designing truly effective experiences. Okay, let's talk about how we measure the effectiveness of our designs. It's not just about looking good, it's about doing good driving business results. We use key performance indicators, or KPIs, to track progress. These are specific, measurable goals that tell us if our design is working. Examples include conversion rates, how many users actually complete a goal like buying something or signing up. Also, task completion rate measures how easy it is for people to do what they're trying to do on the site. We look at things like time on task, are users getting frustrated and giving up quickly, and bounce rate, which tells us if visitors are leaving because they're not finding what they need. Finally, customer satisfaction, are our users happy with the overall experience. To track all this, we use tools like Google Analytics or Hotjar to gather data and really understand how people interact with our designs. Okay, let's talk about some really important ideas from Jakob Nielsen, a true legend in the world of usability. He's known for his simple, powerful principles that can make or break a design. Basically, he wanted to figure out what made products easy for people to use. The first thing he stresses is keeping users informed to make sure they always know what's going on. Next, your design should match what people expect. They'll have built up ideas of how things should work, so don't fight those instincts. Consistency is key too. Everything from the language you use to the way navigation works needs to be predictable. And crucially, try to prevent errors before they even happen. Finally, make it easy for users to find what they need without having to think too hard about it. That's recognition over recall. Okay, so today we're diving into persuasive and emotional design patterns. Think about how you can tap into people's feelings and motivations to drive engagement. It's not about tricking users, it's about connecting with them on a deeper level. We've got some key tactics like scarcity, that only 3 left kind of thing, which creates urgency. Then there's social proof, where showing people that others are already using something helps build trust. Authority is another one. Think about endorsements from experts or industry leaders. And finally, reciprocity, offering value first to encourage a return gesture. The important part here is always ethical design, so use these patterns thoughtfully and honestly. Okay, so let's talk about micro moments. These are those super quick moments when people grab their phones, usually just a few seconds, because they need something right now. It's not about big journeys or epic experiences, it's about delivering immediate value and solving a problem instantly. As designers, we really need to think about anticipating these needs and making sure our interfaces are super fast and easy to use. The key is relevance. Make sure you're actually answering the user's question. Speed, load times are crucial, and simplicity. Keep things clean and straightforward with clear calls to action. Okay, let's talk about making forms work really well. Form validation is a big part of that. It's all about ensuring users are giving you the right information. We want to give them instant feedback when something isn't quite right, so they can fix it quickly and easily. There are two main types: client-side validation, which happens in the browser itself for immediate feedback, and server-side validation, which makes sure everything is solid after the form has been submitted. And when an error does occur, we need to show users exactly what went wrong, clear, specific messages that tell them how to correct it. Think about highlighting those errors visually and placing the message right next to the problem field. It's all about making the process as smooth and trustworthy as possible. Okay, let's talk about contextual design. It's a really powerful approach to UI/UX design that goes beyond just asking people what the want. Instead, it focuses on truly understanding their situation, where they are, how they behave, and why they do things the way they do. We do this by spending time observing users in their actual environment, like shadowing them as they go about their day. This helps us uncover needs we might not have realized were there. Then, we use how might we questions to frame our design challenges, questions that really get us thinking about the user's context. And finally, it's all about iteration. We build prototypes, test them with users in their real-world settings, and keep refining until we have a solution that genuinely works for them. Okay, let's talk about mapping out the entire customer experience. It's super important for designers because it helps us truly understand how users interact with our product, not just in isolated moments. We start by choosing a specific journey, like when someone first signs up or makes a purchase. Then we list every interaction they have, from visiting our website to maybe contacting customer support. We put all those touchpoints on a map. It could be a simple flowchart or something more detailed. By looking at the whole process and spotting where things get tricky, like where users might feel confused or frustrated, we can find opportunities to make things better and create a much smoother experience. Okay, let's talk about accessibility. So, the ADA and Section 508 are really important legal frameworks that we need to consider when designing user interfaces. The Americans with Disabilities Act prevents discrimination based on disability, and Section 508 is a law specifically focused on making technology accessible. A key part of this is following the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, often called WCAG. These guidelines provide practical steps for building websites and apps that are usable by everyone, including people with disabilities. Things like using semantic HTML, providing alternative text for images, ensuring keyboard navigation, and paying attention to color contrast all play a big role in making your designs accessible. Thinking about these things from the start will not only help you comply with the law, but also create better experiences for all users. Okay, let's talk about designing for voice assistants and chatbots. These aren't like traditional apps, they rely heavily on natural language. It's really important to think about what people are using them and what they might be doing while they're interacting with the bot. We need to design conversations that feel intuitive, even if it means providing a little extra guidance. Let's focus on creating clear, simple interactions, anticipating potential misunderstandings, and always testing our designs with real users to make sure they're actually working well. Okay, let's talk about how we map out the user journey. Touchpoints are basically every single way a customer interacts with your brand. It could be visiting your website, using an app, talking to support, or even walking into a physical store. Mapping these touchpoints visually helps us spot areas where things might go wrong and also highlights opportunities for improvement. Now, service design takes this a step further. It's about looking at the whole experience, considering everyone involved: the user, your employees, and even any partners you work with. It's all about creating a truly seamless and valuable experience for the customer by optimizing how everything flows together across all those touchpoints. Okay, so let's get real. Things will go wrong. As UI/UX designers, our job isn't just to create beautiful interfaces, it's to build systems that are resilient and forgiving of user mistakes. It's super important to think about these edge cases, those unexpected scenarios where users might do something you didn't anticipate. We need to consider things like invalid input. What happens if someone accidentally types letters into a number field? Or network problems: how will the app behave if the internet goes out? And don't forget device limitations. Does it still look good on an old phone? The key is to validate user inputs, give clear error messages when something's wrong, and have fallback plans in case the primary feature fails. And most importantly, continuously test your designs with real users to find those hidden surprises. Let's dive into making your designs lightning fast. Page load speed is seriously important. Users will quickly abandon a site or app if it takes too long to load. There are several key things you can do to optimize performance, starting with reducing the number of requests your browser has to make. Think about combining all your images and style sheets into fewer files and using CSS sprites for smaller icons. Next up, let's talk about images. They can be huge. Make sure you compress them without making them look blurry. And don't forget to take advantage of browser caching so the user doesn't have to download things every single time they visit your site. Clean code on both the front and back ends is also a must. Finally, lazy loading. Only load what's visible when it's needed can make a huge difference in initial load times. Okay, let's talk about UX-det. It's a really important concept for any UI/UX designer to understand. Basically, it's all the little compromises and quick fixes we make during product development that eventually add up. Think of it like neglecting maintenance on a car. Small problems just get bigger over time. We have different types of UX-det: to usability issues like confusing navigation, accessibility gaps where we're not meeting standards for everyone, performance problems that slow things down, and even design inconsistencies that can confuse users. The good news is that UX-det isn't an insurmountable problem. You can identify it by looking at user feedback and analytics for recurring pain points. Then, to manage it, prioritize the most impactful issues, document what you've found, and tackle them with small, targeted improvements instead of trying to fix everything at once. Okay, let's talk about keeping those awesome users who signed up actually using your product. It's way easier to keep someone you already have than to find a whole new audience. We want to focus on engagement, making sure they feel valued and are coming back for more. A great strategy is personalization. Think tailored experiences based on what each user does. Then, there's gamification. Adding little game-like elements like points and badges can be really motivating. Push notifications should be used sparingly and thoughtfully, only to send truly relevant updates. Building a community around your product or service also works wonders, and always remember to listen to your users, gather their feedback, and use it to make things even better. Okay, let's talk about designing with privacy and security in mind. It's incredibly important as UI/UX designers because we're often the first point of contact for user data. The goal is to build trust, so we need to be mindful of how information flows through our designs. First, focus on collecting only what you truly need. That's called data minimization. Be super clear with users about why you're asking for their details. And importantly, give people control over their data. Make sure your privacy policies are easy to find and understand, and empower them to manage their settings. Beyond that, always prioritize security by validating the user input carefully and using secure authentication methods. Think of privacy by design, meaning it's not an afterthought, it's baked in from the very beginning. Okay, let's talk about making sure our designs are truly for everyone. Inclusive design isn't just a nice to have, it's essential. It means thinking about the wide range of people who will be using our products, not just those who fit into a typical stereotype. We need to consider things like accessibility standards, like WCAG, which guide us on making content perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. But it goes much deeper than that. We have to think about cultural nuances. What might be perfectly acceptable in one culture could be offensive in another. And crucially, we must design with diverse abilities in mind, considering things like visual impairments, motor limitations, or cognitive differences. Finally, let's remember that people use technology differently based on age and the context they're using it in. Okay, let's talk about understanding those UX research reports. They're super important. Think of them like a detailed map guiding you through user behavior. Most reports start with an executive summary, which quickly outlines the main takeaways. Then, you'll find details on how the research was conducted, what methods were used, for example, usability testing or surveys. Pay close attention to the key findings because that's where you'll see the actual data and observations. But don't just take those findings as gospel, prioritize them. Focus on the insights that really matter, things that directly help users achieve their goals or benefit your business. And always ask questions. Challenge the report's conclusions and think about its limitations. A good research report translates raw data into actionable design decisions, so it's worth taking the time to truly understand what it's saying. Okay, let's talk about how to make your design presentations really shine. It's not enough just to show off the pretty pictures, you need to tell a story that resonates with your audience. First, always consider who you're presenting to. A technical team needs different information than senior leadership. Start by clearly outlining the problem you were trying to solve and frame your design as the solution. Then, bring it to life using user stories. Imagine how real people would actually use this. Pay attention to visual hierarchy, guide their eyes through the important elements, and most importantly, explain why you made each decision you did. Showing your thought process builds trust and confidence in your work. Okay, let's talk about building a strong UI/UX portfolio. First, you need to narrow down your focus. What type of design are you best at and want to highlight? Then, pick the 3-5 projects that really showcase your skills and demonstrate variety. But it's not enough just to show the finished product. You also need to tell a story with case studies. Each study should clearly explain the problem you were trying to solve, your role in the project, how you approach the design process including sketches and prototypes, and finally, what the results were and what you learned along the way. Resources like Behance and Dribbble are great places to get inspiration too. So, as a UI/UX designer, it's really important to stay ahead of the curve, constantly learning about what's new in the field. There are several key trend areas you should be keeping an eye on, like making sure your designs are accessible for everyone using standards like WCAG. You also need to understand things like micro-interactions, those little animations that make a big difference. And don't forget about adapting to different environments with dark mode and responsive design. Now let's talk about some of the tools you can use. Things like Figma plugins are super helpful for speeding up your workflow, and UI animation platforms allow you to create really engaging micro-interactions without needing to be a coder. Plus, AI is starting to play a role in design, with tools that can help you generate ideas or automate tasks. And if you want to quickly prototype new concepts, there are rapid prototyping tools available too. They're fantastic for testing out different ideas. Thank you for watching.